The President is expected to make a statement in the coming minutes. Hi, thanks for joining us here at France 24 for this special bulletin where we are, of course, covering this news that's coming to us from Washington, D.C. We are waiting on an announcement by Barack Obama, the U.S. President, that was called for the late hour of 22:30. That's 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Been waiting an hour now, so it's 11:30 local time. That's pretty late for the U.S. President to make any kind of announcement at all to the nation, be it especially on a Sunday. So that does indicate the whatever he is likely to have to say is of a certain degree of gravity. The news that we are hearing so far from the media over in the US is that what Barack Obama is likely to tell the nation and indeed the world is that the leader of Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, has been killed and that his body is in US military custody. The reason for that, of course, it is very symbolic that they would keep the body for proof of finding out who it was. Now, for more on this story, we can cross over to our correspondent, Ed O'Keefe, in Washington, D.C., report from the Washington Post. Now, Ed, what is the latest that you're hearing from your side of the Atlantic on this story?
We know from published reports from the major television news outlets here in the United States that Osama bin Laden has been captured and killed by the United States, and the U.S. is in possession of his body. Congressional lawmakers began receiving word of this late this evening. Reporters who covered the White House were informed during the 9 p.m. Eastern hour that they should return to the White House to cover a major national security-related announcement. It was believed to be something related to Libya, but that was quickly ruled out by White House officials who wouldn't provide much more detail. And then in the ensuing moments, it was learned that Osama bin Laden had been captured and killed. His body is in the possession of the U.S. government. We don't know many other details. We don't know specifically where the body was located or, the condition of it and how exactly he was killed. We do know, interestingly, though, despite the late hour, there are reports of people outside the White House cheering, chanting USA, USA, and singing the U.S. national anthem. Similar reports of that occurring in Times Square in New York, the city, of course, that suffered the biggest blow from Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda back in September 2001. And I think that gives you an early indication of what the United States, at least, how Americans here and around the world will respond to the capture and killing of Osama bin Laden. Remember, this has been going on for about 10 years with very little attention paid to it. The effort to find him by many, I think, in their minds, abandoned. Many Americans didn't believe it would ever come. Remember, it was a big focus and pursuit of George W. Bush during his administration, but never panned out successfully. It has now since, of course, happened for President Obama, according to reports tonight. And this very well could be a very significant game changer for the president politically, for the U.S. standing around the world. But I think we also will have reports that U.S. officials preparing for the possibility of retaliatory attacks in the coming hours and days because of this. Remember, there was always concern that if Osama bin Laden was captured, that he would not necessarily cause the end of Al-Qaeda, that in fact its members might rise up and cause more problems and more attacks and retaliation. Indeed, it appears that American officials are preparing for that possibility. So a night of great drama. It is very rare that a U.S. president makes an announcement late in the evening that he needs to address the nation and the world. And this was not what people were expecting on a Sunday evening, and it now has happened, and it will inevitably lead to a great amount of reaction here in the United States and around the world, especially as we learn the details of how exactly this came to be.
Now, you mentioned just how important this is to Barack Obama's administration. How much credit can the current president take for this kind of event, given that it was, of course, not on his watch that the hunt began?
Luke,
sorry,
let's listen
Ed
to the
O'Keefe,
president
before you go into that, we've got Barack
podium.
Obama, who has just arrived. We will cross over live now. Thank you, Ed O'Keefe. Now over to Barack Obama.
To the American people and to the world, that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden the leader of al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children. It was nearly 10 years ago that a bright September day was darkened by the worst attack on the American people in our history. The images of 9/11 are seared into our national memory. Hijacked planes cutting through